What's up, guys? It's John at National Sports Entertainment, and I wanted to go through tonight's schedule, but since there's a lot of games, and I don't want to bore you guys, and I want you guys to have a chance to make the picks, I'm basically going to go into my logic for the games, and then I'll just show you who I have. So, Spurs Pistons, the line. When I see a line, there's like three things, three separate sectors that a game falls on, and that is contingent on what I bet, how much I bet, and just how much I decide to play for that game. So in this particular case, it's the line. I'm only going to make it a leg one, but the Pistons, I just feel like 5.5. A lot of people are going to see this as two equally shitty teams, and they're going to take the one getting the better odds, getting the 5.5. So I like the Pistons cover. Pacers, that falls under narrative, and I'm going to go into that because I'm going to show you guys all my picks, and I'll make it easier. Knicks falls under narrative/booking. Celtics falls under line. Raptors falls under line, and it falls under narrative. Heat falls under line and metrics. Wolves, that one falls a little bit more under the narrative. The Pelicans game falls a lot under the narrative. Blazers, narrative. So all I'm doing in the Mavericks is metrics and narrative and booking, and the Bucks Clippers is in this one for me. It's the line. So the reason I say that is I have three different criterions for picking a team. One is if it's a weird line, like we're seeing here with the Pistons game, where for some reason they're giving 5.5. Both teams suck. I just think the casual bettor is going to go ahead and take the Spurs to cover or to win, and they're going to like those odds. So I think the Pistons cream them. Then we got and I'm going to go into these two college games as well. I have two college games that I'm playing. And just so you know, I'll go into the leg ones and twos. I just wanted to make this as efficient as possible. So Pistons cover Spurs, and I'll put a little space between the games so you can see. These are tonight's plays, okay? These were all last night's plays. Outside of, you see I plugged in Maury St. Peter's over leg 2. I'm going to go into that in a second. But as well as Buffalo and Kent State. So Pistons, like I said, it falls under the line. That's the only reason I like them is the line. Pacers falls under line and narrative because, yes, I get they don't have Durant yet, but the Suns still have a pretty good team. I don't think the Pacers are known for having a good team. And the Suns just put over the Hawks. I think they do the same thing with the Pacers. As I said, they need teams in the East, especially Pacers, Wizards, teams of that nature. They Raptors. They need them to look competitive. They need them to all be, even the Magic, vying for that last spot. That's why I like the Magic last night over the Nuggets. Now, I'm always going to take the points, if I'm getting them. In this case with the Pacers, we're laying points. But my point is, I just like the fact that I think the Suns are going to not do well until they get Durant. It's going to show how they've kind of lost their backbone. They haven't used that term yet, but I can see them saying that because that's kind of what Bridges was and a lot of these role players were. So I think it's going to be established that they're not going to do too well until they get them. And even when they do, their defense is going to be terrible. So I like the Pacers cover. And then Knicks, I like the cover. It's narrative. I think you have to establish them as good as the Nets, as good as the Sixers. Not Celtics level, but basically they can beat anybody in the East, believably, outside of the Celtics and Bucks. Those are the two teams that are really going to be positioned as unbeatable. So I like the Knicks here. Again, if they were playing the Celtics or something, I might have a different approach, but I think they cover the Sixers here. Here we got the Hornets, and I like them to cover the Celtics just because I think people don't like, I say this all the time, I don't think people like laying 10 points, 11 points, 12 points. But when it's the Celtics, the best team in the league at home, against might be the worst team, one of the worst teams in the league, there's a very good chance, in my opinion, that the public's going to still like the Celtics, even if it was like minus 14, just because they've seen the Celtics rout people. There's not many teams that, the public wants to lay 10 or 11 for. This one, I could see them doing it no problem. Now, here are our leg twos, and a couple of them at least. And Mavs cover Kings. And again, it's metrics, narratives. Kyrie's looked pretty good since he's gone over to the Mavs, and I don't think that's a coincidence. I think they are doing that so it'll look a bit like Kyrie's, was not the problem. Obviously, something's going on with the Nets, in my opinion. They're these laughable trades. They lost their players. So I have a feeling Kyrie's going to look pretty good, actually. I have a feeling a lot of these players, and I think Russ Westbrook's going to look good not when he debuts, and maybe LeBron doesn't look as good. Certain players are definitely being punished, and I have a feeling Kyrie might just look better than people think. I don't think they're going to win the whole thing this year, but I think they're going to wind up flipping the Kings pretty soon. And again, Mavericks have terrible on the spread, so they're always a good pick for me. I always like taking the Mavericks to cover the spread there. So obviously we're not playing it twice, and now I can start condensing these together. So these are going to be our plays. TBD just means to be determined. And now we got Blazers cover Thunder. This is narrative as well. And it's kind of like a public line. I don't think people have the respect for the Blazers. Like, as far as people just think they're a one-dimensional team or a streaky team. And they are a streaky team. As you can see, we don't have a lot of open leg 1-2s. We've closed quite a bit, which is always good. So I'm trying just to find the open ones we have to plug this one in for. Like I said, it doesn't matter what you plug your leg 2s in for. As you can see, I'm playing the Blazers as a leg 2, and I'm playing the Mavericks cover as a leg 2, both of them to cover. That's one from a while ago. I don't know if we won that one. But my point is, you can see how long I'm scrolling just to find, and maybe I missed one, I don't know. But my point is, this is a good thing. Okay, here's one. This means that we, like I said before, we've almost closed every sequence we've started since the beginning. Leg 2s and 3s. You can see we have some hanging chads, but not a lot. So Blazers cover Thunder. I do like that one because, again, I think Blazers got to make the playoffs. And yeah, the Thunder do too, but the Blazers are way more of a draw. So that's the reason I think the Blazers will make the playoffs over the Thunder if it comes down to the two of them. And they've made the Blazers a streaky team. So I think this is where they go on a little bit of a winning streak. And again, 3.5, I think it's 3.5 points right now. I could see a lot of people being on the Thunder at that because I think a lot of people see these two as very equal teams. So between all that, I like the Blazers. That's why I made them a leg 2. Heat cover Rockets. Both these teams suck against the spread. The reason I went with the Heat to cover the Rockets here is because it's like 12 points. And I just got done explaining it with the Celtics. I don't think people will agree. Now I got to find the leg 2 again. Anyway, it should be pretty nice, I swear. It's a good thing that we're closing them all. Here we go. No, that's a leg 3. So you can see we have a couple open leg 3s and a very few leg 2s. But anyway, what I was saying was the Celtics were giving 12 or 10 or something like that, 10, 11, 12. Double digits for sure. I think it moved to 11.5. And that's one I can see people slamming them because they've proven to be a good, consistent team who blows people out. The Heat have not proven to be that. So in this case, I think that a lot of people will take the Rockets as an upset. They'll take them to cover, especially how they just played the Kings the other day. So I think it just makes sense that a lot of people aren't going to be loving the Heat, especially laying that many points. But I wanted to do this way so you guys can see the reason the system works. You can see we are closing sequences, and we have a bunch of ones that we lost, 21 to be exact. 21 3-leg losses, which equated to 152 units because on one of them I even went above the 7 units. And we're still up 90 units at this point. And that's the reason. It's because I'm closing out every sequence with high metric plays. And I'm not rushing them. I'm not rushing every NBA play as a leg 2, if you noticed. Because I like them, but they're good plays, but they're not amazing plays. So Hornets cover Celtics, like I said, I like that one. And then I went into the Heat. And then we got Grizz cover Wolves, and I like that because I just feel like 7 points, the Wolves just blew out. The Nuggets are a pretty good team. And they had all their starters. It wasn't like there was any excuses. So it just stands the reason to me that people will be on the Wolves now. And with or without, again, they did this without D'Angelo Russell. So I don't see why people wouldn't think at home they wouldn't cover a 7-point spread against the Grizz. So I think we see the Grizz go to work and Ja look good. And the Grizz will cover the spread, I believe. Now we got the Cavs, Pels, and again, it's just one at home. I think a little more of the public's going to be on the Pels. And I think they need to establish another team in the East. Almost every team in the West, I feel like people can see as believable. Even the Lakers, the public, I think a lot of the casual public can see them winning the championship. You got the Lakers, you got the Clippers, you got the Suns now, who already were contenders. You got the Warriors. Now we know the Warriors aren't going, but my point is the public doesn't know that. Dallas, I don't think Dallas is going, but the public will think so. So that's a bunch of teams. Then you got your shitty teams are like the Wolves and the Blazers. So it just kind of shows like how stacked the West is. The East, they haven't done that. So it's very important to me that the Cavs, who are the third best team in the East, I think they are, from a rankings perspective, beat the Pelicans, who I think they were just below a winning record not that long ago on like a 12-game losing streak. So I think they improved I think the losing streak. One of these teams is on they're not the one on a 12-game losing streak. There is a team on a 12-game losing streak. I'm not sure who it is, and it's the reason I picked them to lose is because it'll make it go to 13. It might be the Spurs, but whoever it is, it probably is because they're the only team who theoretically could be. But either way, I just think it makes sense that the Cavs get this win. It's on ESPN, I believe. And then people will say, okay, the Cavs, maybe they could beat the Bucks. And I think that's why they need this win. Raptors, I think they cover the Jazz because, again, Pacers winning. It's the same type of principle. The Wizards have to stay there. I think you got to keep the Raptors there. You also keep the possibility of the entire division getting in the Atlantic Division if the Raptors get in, which would be interesting too. So while I do think they're going to rebuild, they're still going to tease them anywhere between the 9 and 12 seed. They're even teasing the Magic in there now. So they're going to make Raptors games more exciting, Bulls games more exciting, Pacers games, and I think they have to win these games. And finally, we got the Clips covering the Bucks here, another leg too. And again, the reason I like this one is because I just think a few more people are going to be on the Bucks than on the Clips. And I think, again, it kind of works in reverse. People know the Bucks are definitely a playoff contending team. I don't think people have that same sentiment for the Clippers. So while they don't have that same sentiment for the Clippers, they're very inconsistent. I think it would be a perfect night for, especially, it's going to get a lot of public action. And I would imagine this essentially even odds game is more public's going to be on the Bucks. So I think it's more important for the Clippers to win for a narrative perspective. And I also think just from this perspective of where the public's going to be at. And again, you can see we're going back quite a while. I think that the reason I said by Saturday, by the Super Bowl, I believe we're going to be up plus 100 units. If you can't tell, I'm kind of a numbers geek. Pattern recognition, numbers, patterns, combinations, mathematical, probability and stats, all of those things. And I had basically deduced that we're going to have every sequence we started closed, and you can see how many we've done just simply since the 27th of December after we were shut down, and we've won 242 sequences, more since then actually, I believe, lost 21, and that's how the system works. It's pretty simple. 21 times 7. The only difference is we lost an additional 5 because I did like a leg 4 on the Bucks and on the Bucks money line. But my point is, these sequences are like all closed, which is good because what you don't want is a bunch of ones where we have to close leg 3s now. And if you lose that, that's 7 units. So I wanted to go into our picks, but also kind of just do it. This is exactly how I go about doing my picks. I literally just look for a leg 2 we recently lost and plug it in like we did yesterday with LIU, Rice. And it doesn't always work. Like I said, we lost Stonehill. We didn't get that over. So I already plugged in the Chiefs to beat the Eagles on that one. I wasn't going to play that game as a leg 3, but I figured I believe we'll be up 100 units at that point anyway, so why not? Also, I figure most of the people watching this, people like to do more on the Super Bowl, so I said, okay, fine, we'll just make it a leg 3 anyway. But I do think, after thinking about it, the Chiefs are going to win, so I'll go more into that. But those are our NBA plays. The reason I did it in here instead of on ESPN is just because I want to show you guys exactly how I do my picks. And just so you know, right after the playlist, every night we do this. We literally recap every single pick. So everything's done in live time. And then tonight you'll see the same thing. You'll see all of our plays, or leg 2 or leg 3s, etc. We do it in live time because that's why we were shut down the first time. We're the only channel who can make this claim. Hey, if you started watching if you started watching the playlist and literally just tailed, right, and knew nothing about college, as I know nothing about college, or any of these sports, I don't really follow them. I just follow the narratives. You'd be up 90 units right now, and that's literally just the reason I made the system the way I did. But I thought by showing you guys, again, people know in my Discord I post everything. But on my notes, I put these on my notes every time I find them. And, that's why I don't update them. All I do is add to them. And when we lose, I explain why we closed out the sequence. Tulsa did not cover Cincinnati. We didn't chase it. Had I chased it with the Magic, look what would have happened. We would have lost 15 units. Then if I chased it with the Mavs cover Jazz, that's 30 more. That's the reason we don't chase past 3. So, again, the system has a lot of specificities to it, but they're important ones. Now, there are 2 games that we're playing, 2 college games. One of them I went over, kind of Marist St. Peter's. That's going to be a leg 2. St. Peter's sucks on the over. They're terrible. They suck on it. So I think they're going to go over tonight, as I do think Kent State and Buffalo is going to go over. Kent State I'm playing as a leg 1 because they're like 30%, which is more realistic than St. Peter's, who if they lose, they'll be at like 24%. So it really just comes down to those few percentage points, believe it or not. So yeah, the other leg 2 we have here will be St. Peter's and Marist to go over. So like I said, those are all of our picks, every NBA one. As you can see, 7 of our NBA games are our leg 1s, just because the Pistons cover Spurs, Pacers cover Suns, Knicks cover Sixers, Hornets cover Celtics, Grizzlies cover Wolves. I know you can see this, but there's times I'll get comments like, oh, I didn't see that pick. Cavs cover Pels, Raptors cover Jazz. That leaves the 4 leg 2s. Blazers cover Thunder, Mavs cover Kings, Heat cover Rockets. So, and then as far as the other leg 2, it's college. It's going to be the St. Mary's Peters over. So I just wanted to go into that so people can see that every leg that I'm playing, why I am playing them, and then I know it's a little redundant, but the reason I scrolled up and you can see TBD next to it, so it kind of jumps out. That's why I put that there. But people can just see everyone that we plugged in, and just in the last couple days, like the amount of plays we've made, and this is why the system works. It's all about metrics. But yeah, so for me, we got the Mavs cover Warriors, which I plugged in. I just think that's a good leg too. And that's all I do. I just plug them in. I look for the last one. There we go. Blazers cover Thunder, Heat cover Rockets. And I just feel like, again, as long as you stick to the system, you'll see, you can watch back on the playlist. It's been like this since the beginning. There's nothing that has changed. So there's all of our NBA plays. Like I said, we got 13 plays total between the NBA and college. And the leg 2s are obviously the important ones. That's why I plugged them in where I did. I just like them a little bit more. But yeah, I think we do a good job, and we're very, like I said, we're within 10 units. So I think that my prediction, it wasn't really a prediction. I said I think we can. I don't like to ever make bold predictions. As you can tell, it's a very conservative system. But I said it many times, I think by the Super Bowl it will be plus 100 units. And again, that's simply since 12/27. If you've been following since September, since before we were shut down the first time, you're up about 290 with me. So again, it's only because of just the redundancy, but also how proven the system is. So here's our plays. Again, nothing crazy. I will go into how funny it is that Pat McAfee is now being sued. I find that hilarious. They're not really talking about it here, but he most definitely is. And it'll be really funny to watch how that. I think the whole thing's fake. He's handling it like a promo. But he doesn't have the protection that your Shannon Sharps do, because Shannon Sharp is literally saying these things for the league on their behalf, whereas Pat McAfee is being told what to say, being paid some money, and he can't hide behind the NFL or ESPN. He's got his own show. Anything he says, he sounds corny, but legally can be used against him in the court of law, and I think it's going to be, if it's a real lawsuit. We'll have to see. But yeah, so games like this, Pacers, I think people will be all over the Suns. So I'm glad ESPN's back up, but honestly, when I last night, I was trying to go into it, couldn't get into it. So whenever ESPN's up, I like to go to their spreads. But again, what I'll say is for all these games, I always get the 5. This is pretty safe. Okay, we got St. Peter starting in an hour, so it's safe to lock them now. But if you lock them in the morning, they'll change a lot by the night, and that's what I mean by try and get as close as you can to the ESPN closing line or a half point better. Now, I rarely buy the half point. I'm just saying if your book is offering you worse, or if it's offering you the same and you'd rather be cautious, then half point better. But it's just because people get clipped so much, like especially on these kind of metrics games with St. Peter's, they'll get clipped by like a point because they lock in the morning, and then the over moves a couple points. And that's why I just always stick to especially with these metric plays, I always stick to as close as I can to the closing spread. So if you think you're going to get a more beneficial one by locking it early, definitely do it. But that's who I like tonight. A split I will take, but I think we do a lot better than a split. I think we wind up doing something like 65%, but we'll have to see. So take care, everybody, and happy earnings.